Hi there, thanks for joining us right here on The Nation. I'm Jessie Chahel. This is our first show in the month of August, and of course that means that we want to have the focus on Independence Day or National Day that's at the end of the month. Today I'm speaking to the founding member as well as the Director of Youth Empowerment from Project 57. They are Syed Sadiq Albar, he is the founder, as well as Deborah Cho, the Director of Youth Empowerment at Project 57. Two Malaysians who are passionate about spreading the notion of unity and hope, especially among Malaysian youth. Welcome to the program. Thanks for being with me.
Thanks for having us.
It's such a pleasure, Sadiq and Debbie. Of course, Project 57, it's 4 years old now, almost 4 years old, and you've gained a lot of traction with many different projects that you've done. But let's start at the very beginning. What does patriotism mean to you, and why do you think it's important, especially now, whether it's post G14 or whether it's wanting to empower youth and give them perhaps more driving force than ever before? Debbie?
Yeah, okay, so for me, what is this patriotism, right? I think it's something like the feeling of love, the feeling of belonging, ownership. I mean, I studied overseas, a bit like what you mentioned just now, but I always wanted to come back. So, I mean, I didn't even, the minute I finished, I studied in the UK, I said, look, I'm coming back to Malaysia. And there was just that feeling. I can't explain it. I never even realized it until now, what it was then, right? So I think patriotism is about that love. So it's not so much this shallow thing, it's like this feeling that you have because you want to belong. And I'm going to say it, Sadiq. Malaysia's like my homeland, you know.
But it is.
That
I would
feeling,
assume
yeah.
that it is my homeland. I wouldn't know any other. I can't call any other country my homeland.
I mean, it's such an amazing feeling to be able to belong to something which is a lot greater than yourself, and that's our home, right? That's Malaysia. You know, being able to, you know, as we like to always talk about it, Malaysia is very famous for having these moments of unity, right?
Yeah.
So
especially if it's a football match.
You wouldn't have that moment of unity if you weren't patriotic. You wouldn't care, you know, whatever badminton game goes on and all of that, right? But the whole idea is to be able to know that, hey, I'm a part of this, and this is a part of me. So that's why, you know, that feeling inside is something that, you know, only every individual has their own special feeling or expression of what that patriotism means to them, right?
Having said that, the assumption would be, well, Malaysians are perhaps by nature, they love their country. We've grown up in school from writing essays about Hari Kebangsaan, learning the Rukun Negara, and all of that sort of thing. But why did you feel it compelling to start this social enterprise to promote unity and hope amongst youth?
So when we started the project, we felt that the country was going through a little bit of the trajectory was not right. And I think you can't expect other people to actually do something. If you see something's wrong, you want to actually be a part of, you know, trying to correct what's wrong. And, you know, when we started it, we felt trajectory not right. What do we do? Shall we just talk about this and all? So that's why, you know, Project 57 was born, you know, from a little small pilot project. And now it has grown to what it is today. And we feel that we are responsible ourselves as Malaysians, and all of everyone should be responsible for playing their part or taking part in making sure that the country is peaceful or, you know, united. We cannot leave it up to governments or organizations. We actually have to be a part of this. This is us. People come and go, but we as the people, we remain. And this is our home. We need to be able to do it.
It's people power. We are the constant. We can call for that change as we've seen post 9th May. Before 9th May, they may have said, well, could Project 57 be part of the opposition? Is this a way to inculcate unity and hope through some other PR stunt? But post that, they would have said, well, probably now this is a government propaganda. So where do you take your stand? How do you remain impartial and not biased, non-political?
I want to say something as well, but you say first. Go ahead.
I say first?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I think whatever it is that we do, we have never said or excluded one side or the other, and neither have we, I think, given emphasis to one side or the other.
Okay.
What we've done is to actually focus on the foundational values, right? So like, for example, why is Project 57 called Project 57? It's because we want to put forward the values in 1957 in the Constitution.
By
right?
the founding fathers themselves.
Yes, that's right. So we're talking about acceptance of one another, strength in diversity, right? Being progressive, right? And all these values, these are the values that we want to put forward to the youths, who are our focus. So it's not so much about one party or the other party,
Right.
but this is our way,
Yep.
right? Of how can we help to, okay, we're not going to change the world ourselves, but how can we contribute to inspiring youths,
Yeah.
you know, influencing them maybe.
I get
even.
that.
I think it's easy when to be branded or to be put in a certain box or category just because you say something different than someone. So we could have been saying something different from the previous government, for example, and we would be oh, you're not pro-government. Or we could be saying something which is in line with what the current government is saying. Oh, you're pro-government, So, but it doesn't matter. We're pro-people. We're pro-youth. And that's what we want. We want people to be able to understand that, hey, there's some difficult topics we have to talk about.
Yeah.
But we don't mean to talk about them to create any issues. What we want to do is address them, and know that through addressing them, we will have better understanding.
So both of you have your ear to the ground, and through the initiatives that you have done, whether it's with universities, colleges, or even with different organizations, what are these difficult topics do you find that youth are finding it difficult to speak about?
Okay, so I can speak about a project that we did. For example, like we did a project with a private university once, and so the students were going out to do a survey. They had to do a survey every time, wherever they went. They had to do a survey, talk to people, collect data, and all. And I think that's very important, right? Data is, all this work you do, if you don't have data, it's worthless.
Absolutely.
So the whole point is that you realize that when they go out there and speak to people, these young Malaysians, at that point when we started this project, they realized that Malaysians don't care during that time. And when they realized that Malaysians don't care, they became more engaged. Why don't people care? Why are you not proud to be Malaysian? So, these are the kind of things that, we've actually gone out there and
to understand their
understand their frustrations. And these were regular folks. This is not just city, this is not just urban and all of that, So people just felt, it doesn't make a difference to me. So we need to address those kind of things.
Yeah, and I also think, sometimes adults, right, we've put like a label on the youths.
Yeah.
Like we say, look, you guys don't care, or you only care about your social media and your selfies and your Wi-Fis, right? But in actual fact, when they are given the opportunity to speak, and when we engage with them, right, actually, if we just were to listen to them, and we share with them more than we preach to them or we tell them, right? When we do that kind of engagement, then they are able to put forward their frustrations, and then after that, they come together with us. So like they could start off like not really being engaged, or like what you guys doing lah,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And we have to be here because it's part of our assignment, right?
Yeah.
But once they are engaged, they run further than us. They come up with greater ideas on how to spread this message. They become true ambassadors.
So what is that point of engagement? What is it that's truly transforming them, or bringing out that passion in them?
I think it's firstly conversation, so that space where they can speak freely to us, right? And that's the awareness part.
And what are some of the areas of interest of Malaysian youth at large? What is it that they are going after? Is it stopping racism? Is it having more dialogue between interfaith? Or is it something more youth empowering?
I think it's a bit of everything you've mentioned.
Yeah.
The youth empowering side, being able to express yourself, I think is something that the youth, especially with technology and all of that, right, is something that you can actually see. And I think that is something that when given the opportunity, like when you give them, like for some of the projects that we've done, you give them a blank canvas, right?
Yeah.
And you as an older person, you think about, are they going to be able to think about what we are actually looking for and all? And they've really, they haven't just surprised us. I think they've actually impressed us. And I remember when we did the project and we were concerned whether the students would actually think of this as an opportunity for a company to try to sell things.
Right.
But then they realized that it was actually about everyone's understanding and communicating with each other and understanding one another, which was the subject and the matter of what the project was about. Yeah.
Racism, that's a hard one to talk about openly, especially, but it still happens at different levels, at schools, even at the workplace. How are you trying to open up this dialogue? How are you trying to have that conversation? Because a lot of times it is, well, back in our day, our parents, and even like for me, I would say back in my day, I never really felt any racism, but I think the narrative is very different now, where we read about it more. It's a lot more on social media as well. So what would be Project 57's approach in terms of trying to get this dialogue going, as well as trying to perhaps bring about a solution and empower the youth themselves to try and say, well, stop, we do not, encourage, or we do not agree with racism?
Yep. Would you like to go first?
I think one of the things is to create stories, right? So for the youths to create their own story, their own experience. So for example, let's say the Orang Asli youths, right? So they always feel marginalized. And then you have the other more privileged youths who've never had an experience of engaging. So if firstly we allow them to have that opportunity to engage, sometimes we even when we're making our unity ribbons, right? We have youths from different universities, different demographics, different backgrounds, and it's amazing that when they come together, somehow the whole atmosphere is equalized, and there's an opportunity for them to make contact, right? So from those, I think they will acquire stories, and if we can bring those stories into the digital space, I think that's one way in which we can probably reach out to more youths.
We're really fixated on labels. You know, in Malaysia, I feel. So Chinese, Indian, you hear of an accident, right? And the natural thing that comes out of everyone's face, orang Cina ke langgar. Like, do you know? And it's so strange. It's like I don't think you'd hear about this in any part of the world, not in America, not in. So the whole point is to not be so fixated about this and realize that it's about people. There will not be any kind of issue with regards to racism and all this kind of stuff if you actually treat people, for who they are.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the ribbon a little bit. This, of course, is an initiative by Project 57. It's called the Unity Ribbon. And what do you hope to achieve through this? Because I see you both wearing it very proudly. It looks a lot like our flag as well. And I think I will put it on towards the end of the show.
Yes, we have one for you. The ribbon, come every time, our idea for the ribbon was to make sure that we had a product which people would be able to take with them anywhere, wear with anything, and not just like our regular other items that we've made. So we wanted it to be slightly a variation of the flag, and for every single ribbon that there would be some form of impact. Being a social enterprise, we needed to make sure that there is that financial contribution or kind of social impact bit to the ribbon. And it's an expression of aspirations, as I like to say, that no matter how different we are, race, religion, when you put on the ribbon, or when people actually see you with the ribbon, they know that you are no different than me. That we are actually the same, because we all want the same thing for our country.
Anak Malaysia.
Anak Malaysia.
So of course this, you said it has an impact as well. What is it? Is it going to help fund a particular cause? Is it raising awareness for a certain cause?
So I'll lift it up now.
Yes.
Okay, so basically it's made by the underserved community. So we've got Orang Asli youths, even those from Sarawak and Sabah who reside in West Malaysia, making it, and physically disabled, as well as some autistic youth as well. So it's about inclusivity when they make this, and of course they get paid wages, and all profits from this ribbon, right, will go to our Orang Asli Education and Empowerment Fund. So that's how the financial impact will be lah. But in terms of the other impact, when they make it, it's we are also surprised that they feel something. They feel that they are contributing to Malaysia, and that they have a role to play. Yeah, even when they make it.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. Fourth year in inception now. What are your hopes for Project 57 come our 62nd National Day?
Well, we hope we sell a lot more ribbons this year, so that at least, our footprint with regards to impact is even wider.
But I wanted to understand this a little bit better. Being a social enterprise as well needs to be funded, and I can understand how that can be converted or is converted into a business as well. So how do you balance that with your social cause to ensure that it's not becoming, as sometimes perceived, as a money-making venture?
Well, we can sit down and talk about other stuff with regards to it not being a money-making venture. The whole point is to actually, again, we always talk about the youth, is to show the youth that there is another opportunity when you do business, and that is to actually look at a social enterprise model.
Right.
The whole point is for you to be sustainable and for you to have an impact, your cause. And that's what we want to show. So we have to be able to show that, hey, there is a sustainable model here, and you can actually impact a certain segment that you feel very passionately about. So for us, what we feel passionately about is about the country and about the underserved. Yeah. So
I think because, of course, NGOs have a part to play, right? But we believe that if we can prove to the youths that this social enterprise model works, because you're combining business so that you can be sustainable, so that you can move forward. So you have all the challenges of an enterprise, right? But if you can, and all the positive things as well, but if you can add on an element of social impact, it can be anything. I mean, it could even be, you want to start a business of making something, and you just pause and think, who are the people that I'm going to employ? And when I employ them, right, am I going to consider how many of their kids eventually can go to university? Can they even buy a car? Right? And they come out from the B40. So if it's just about that pausing, and reflecting.
Well, there's a lot to be done, and of course there's a lot that you're doing already, but a lot in a big C sometimes can seem like a little bit. What else can be done by other segments, whether it's by the people themselves, other NGOs, by the government? What are little pockets or gaps that you are seeing, and what areas do you think needs more focus on in terms of building up, whether it's youth empowerment, nation building, as well as just getting the dialogue of We Are One going?
I think, everything starts from the home. And that is something that I think families or parents all can play a very important part, but education is the most important thing. And that is something that we should actually make it a natural thing for kids to actually understand this. So whether it's talking about race relations, talking about religion, so that people understand one another better, so you understand that, Malam Hari Raya, people usually go to their parents' house or they go and visit the graves, Chinese families actually have reunion dinner, which is the most special dinner. So again, it's about educating and all, and it starts from school, it starts from home. These are areas where the government and Malaysians alike can actually all contribute.
It was just that it seems for so long we've always been having the Ali Mutu Achong conversation going, and I think it's about time we kind of break away from that, because Malaysians, even as a race, you can't break us down by race anymore. There's so many who have who are interracial as well. So how do you put a label on that once again? So moving forward, how do we now talk about this? How do we get this conversation going about we are Malaysians? How do we bring this, if you said through school, but is that enough? Should there be more other social activities outside? How do we, I would want my kids to totally not be, look at a friend and say, well, yeah, that's my Indian friend coming to the house now, to totally not even think about that.
I think, to go to that extent, maybe we can take a first step. So instead of saying that I need to be able to look at this person as not a Chinese, or this person is a Chinese, I think firstly is to say, okay, fine, he's a Chinese, right? And then recognize that, hey, look, we need to be a cohesive, it's like a cohesive society, you see, like we can recognize our differences. I can recognize that, Sadiq is Okay, he calls himself Malay Arab.
Looks like one.
Yeah, right? Especially with the hairstyle and all that.
Yeah.
But then say, hey, look, it's okay. We accept and we respect. I think that trust and respect, right, coming from the different, the awareness of being different, I think that's very important.
But
Isn't it?
Sadiq, why do some of us get it and then some of us totally don't? Is it an urban thing? But it's not, because if you go down to Kampong when it's time of Raya or Chinese New Year or just a long National Day break as well, the Kampong feel and the Kampong vibe is so different from the rat race that we're chasing around the city. We don't even acknowledge the person next to us or try and help them out. So it's just like, what gives?
You know, I sometimes feel that sometimes it could even be an urban problem, right? That the issues are actually here. It becomes more apparent, or people label themselves, or my Chinese neighbor or my Indian neighbor and all of that. But it's just, again, like you said, Debbie, you said take a step back. I always like to look at the point of learning from kids. Kids always look at their friends or their peers through ability, for example, or through
By example as well.
By example, through ability. It's like, hey, my friend who does this. It's never, hey, my Chinese friend who does this. And it's wonderful for us to be able to, somehow extend that, preserve that, so that kind of attitude and that kind of, way of treating people is extended even as you grow up. Unfortunately, again, there's no perfect science to this.
Absolutely.
So you have to, keep on going. Yeah.
But we have been there before. I mean, if I look back at my childhood, I know the young people say, you're always saying how it was in the past. But I think we are still a very young country.
That's right.
Right? And if we can take a little bit of how it was and just bring that into the future, I think there's still hope. I really truly believe that there's still hope,
There
right?
is unity and there is still hope. And on that note, I'm going to put on that ribbon right now. So this is the Unity ribbon by Project 57.
Right.
Of course, it's available where?
Oh, okay. It's available. It's available at all the my news outlets, the A&W outlets, post office, the general post offices in all the states, and moving forward, Shell.
All right, announced right here.
Yes.
I can see that. Oh, why did you say that? Okay, well, before I let you both go, what would your message be to Malaysians watching nationwide? And of course, as we are coming on to National Day as well.
I would like to wish everyone a wonderful Merdeka, a wonderful Malaysia Day. There is so much hope and so much joy in just, being a part of this country with everybody. I hope we all can embrace and share our wonderful aspirations together.
Yep. Okay, and for me, I'm going to say this on the card. And that is Maka Kami Rakyat Malaysia. So therefore, we are, right, the Rakyat of Malaysia.
That's right.
And it's all down to us what we're going to do this Merdeka to Malaysia Day and beyond.
I think that's an important question. What are we going to do? If there were very quickly one particular area which you can say, well, we need to immediately look at this. What is the way forward henceforth from now till perhaps the end of the year, or perhaps even next year, especially with our the Minister of Youth being a young man himself?
I fall back on the fact that everything is about home and everything's about education. I think if there's a little bit more emphasis in that area to make you understand, just love your neighbor. The age-old commandment. That's right. All right, thank you very much for coming into the studio, and of course I know you have a lot of work to do, and keep flying the flag up high, the Malaysian flag, as well as Project 57. Well, that's all the time we have on the show today. Thank you so much for watching. And of course, this has started the discussion of how we can all be united, be better as one. Till we see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you.
I'm really excited about the Unity Ribbon project by Project 57.
The Unity Ribbon campaign is another way for us to actually bring people together. And what better way to actually bring people together is by making the ribbon. People from all walks of life, You know, whether it's orang asli, whether it's a university student, whether it's adults, people just like us, wanting to be able to remember the wonderful values our country has.
This project represents hope and future for Malaysia.
And this is what building a nation is about. Getting people together, working together to make something meaningful. Not just meaningful for an individual, but meaningful for a nation.
We want all Malaysians to wear it with pride leading up to Merdeka Day and Malaysia Day this year.
Politics, business, sports, and entertainment, in and out of the country, across all media spectrum, online and